Hello, this is Mr. Henry, and welcome to lesson 5.1. Um, since we're starting a new chapter, this chapter is all about different ways of writing the equation of a line. Specifically, we're going to talk about three different ways. One is slope-intercept form, which is this lesson. One is standard form, which we've seen before. We just really didn't use it that much. And the other is called point-slope form, which you've never ever seen before. Okay. So this chapter starts off with slope-intercept form, which is something we've seen a lot of, and we've used quite a bit of, even in the last chapter. Okay. So to help refresh our memories on how to do slope-intercept form, the first thing we're going to remember how to do is find slope. So let's see if our get the goofs are correct. By the way, essential question: how do I write equations of a line in slope-intercept form? Got it. Okay. So get the goof. Well, I remember this is x, y, x, y. This is point 1. This is point 2. Now, when you plug points in, I see this is a big, ugly mess. So let's just delete him completely and do it right. So we should take, so if you don't remember the formula, it's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we'd get 4 minus negative 4 over x2 minus x1. That gives us 8, keep, flip, change, over negative 5. And the second guy I can see is horribly wrong as well, so we're not going to even bother trying to figure out where it's wrong. Let's just do it right. x1, y1, x2, y2. Alright, so y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That gives us a negative 3. That gives us a negative 1, which, if we simplify, gives us a positive 3. And actually, I forgot to simplify this. Actually, that does not simplify. That is, as ugly as it is, that is the slope. So let's take a look at the vocab. We've got a couple words. We should already know what all these words are because we've talked about slope-intercept form before. The y-intercept is the point where the line crosses the y-axis. Slope of a line is the rise of a run. It's the steepness, and usually we have that abbreviated by the variable m. So that's the m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's how you find slope. And slope-intercept form is just combining those things together. So we have it in this form y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope, and that's how you find it, and b is the y-intercept, and usually that's just a straight up number. Sometimes it's a fraction. Yeah, and you can find that by looking at a graph. You can find it by plugging in points, which we're going to see today. So let's get to it. So here we're going to write the equation of this line in slope-intercept form given just this piece of information. Now, it's giving us the slope and the intercept. So when we write this in slope-intercept form, we just need those two pieces, literally. And remember, the form is y equals mx plus b. So if we plug in the m for the m, the b for the b, we'd get y equals 4x plus 6. And that would be done. That is in slope-intercept form. Just in case you're curious, the only two variables you're allowed to have in the equation of a line is an x and a y. All the other variables have to become numbers for it to be the equation of a line. So we need the x variable and the y variable. Everything else are numbers. And this is our slope. This is our intercept. Okay, so letter B. Now this time, they don't tell us m and b. They just say the slope is this, the y-intercept is that. But we can still do the same thing because it's called slope-intercept in that order. It's not intercept-slope. It's the slope and the intercept. Slope is -2. The intercept is a +5. Slope-intercept. And that would be done. So that's as easy as the first part of this lesson is. It does get harder, but this starts off pretty easy. Please try letters C and D. Do them on your own when you're ready to check over them. Hit play and we'll go through them together. Okay, letter C. Let's see, we should have y equals, there's no slope, so it would be 0x plus 3. I mean, if I started like this, 0x plus 3, there's no need to write 0x. 0 times x is 0. 0 plus 3 is 3. So this line would actually be a horizontal line, I'll change color, like this up here at 3. Letter D. Y equals 7x minus 8. Because we have our slope is 7 and the intercept is a -8. So we put the -8 in there, the 7 in there. That's the equation of that line. Okay? We're going to see one or two wordy type problems. So let's look at letter E here. Letter E says a landscape architect charges $75 for consulting fee and $30 per hour. Write an equation that shows the cost, C, as a function of time, T. Okay. Well, think of what do you have to pay for? Well, you have to pay this consulting fee, so you have to pay the fee, and you also have to pay $30 every hour. So 30 times the number of hours. And that gives you your total cost. The fee, $75 fee, and $30 an hour, 30 times the number of hours, gives you the total cost. Okay? So this is kind of like a verbal model. We can take this now and turn it into our equation. So the fee was $75 plus $30, and in hours, it's using this variable t, so 30t, and that gives us the total cost, which they say is a c. Now that's our equation. We can just modify this very slightly to make it look like slope-intercept form. So this should look kind of familiar. In my mind, this looks like the y variable, this looks like the x variable. So if I make it as c equals, so y equals the x thingy first, so y equals mx plus b. That's what that would look like. One thing I want to point out here, the reason why I know this is a multiply, anytime you have something like it says $30 per hour, when you're getting charged over and over and over, if the guy worked for 1 hour, you'd get charged $30. If the guy worked for 3 hours, you get charged at $30 3 times. So it'd be $90. So anytime there's something that's being repeated over and over again, that's usually a multiplication. The $75 you paid for one time, the $30 you pay over and over and over again as long as the guy is working. Now this next problem, letter F, I'd like you to try on your own. Go ahead and pause the video, copy it down, do the problem. When you're ready to continue, hit play and we'll go over it together. Okay, it says here, a recording studio charges musicians an initial fee of $50 to record an album. Studio time costs an additional $25 per hour. Write an equation that gives the total cost of an album, C, as a function of studio time, T, in hours. Okay, so the total cost is, you got to pay for this $50 one time. It's initial fee. You're not paying that over and over again. So $50 one time, and this $25 per hour. That's $25 over and over and over and over each hour. So 25 times the number of hours. So if that was 2 hours, it'd be 50 bucks. 3 hours would be 75 bucks. Plus the initial fee is the total cost. This is an equation in slope-intercept form. Look at it. Variable equals slope variable plus intercept. That's what we have. So overall, not too hard either. The next two questions you're going to see come from the textbook. They come from page 283, numbers 1 and 2. Go ahead, pause the video, do these two on your own. It should only take you, I'd say, 10 seconds per problem. And then hit play, and we'll go over them together. Okay, let's see. So y equals slope. Y equals mx plus b. So slope x. And this is a negative 7. So we put in a negative 7. So y equals 8x minus 7. Slope is 3/4. Intercept is a negative 3. So you put in negative 3. And that's done. That's how simple these really are. Okay? Now, we're going to change up the problem a little bit here. Now we're going to see how do we find this equation given 2 points. So let's looky here. We have 2 points. What were the two things we needed to find slope-intercept form? We need to have the slope, and we need to have the intercept. Well, we learned how to find slope already. That's the m equals y1 minus, or y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We can do that given 2 points. So we can find the slope here. Okay? How do we find the intercept? Well, let's do slope first. Let's keep ourselves on target here. So let's see, x1, y1, x2, y2. So we got negative 1 minus 2 over 4 minus 0. That gives us a negative 3. That gives us a 4. So we have our slope. Our slope is a negative 3/4. What we do not have is our intercept. So let's think about this. When we're finding our y-intercept, I'm going to erase this a little bit over here. When we're finding our y-intercept, that y-intercept always happens when the x value is 0. Right there would be the y-intercept. Right there, the x value, the sideways from the origin, is 0. So if one of our points has the x value of 0, then the y value of that point is the y-intercept. For example, this guy here. This guy here is the point 0, 2. So our line crosses the y-axis at 2. At 2. And that's the equation of this line. We found the slope using the 2 points in that slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And we found our slope to be negative 3 over 4. The y-intercept we found by looking at the points and finding which point had an x value of 0. This one has an x value of 0, so the y value is our y-intercept. Now, I will tell you, not all of these problems will have a y value, or I'm sorry, an x value of 0. That's how these start, because these problems are a little bit easy, getting us into the swing of things. But there will eventually be a time where we get non-zero x values. But for these first couple, they're all going to have an x value of 0. Let's look at example 2. So we need to find slope. Find slope. Find y-intercept. That's what we need for slope-intercept form. You have to have the slope. You have to have the intercept. If you don't have slope-intercept form. So let's find slope. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That gives us, well, x1, y1, x2, y2. Negative 4 minus 0 over 0 minus 4. That is a negative 4, that is a negative 4, and that equals 1. So we got ourselves a slope of 1. Okay, so y equals 1x, and now we need our intercept. Now, remember, the y-intercept is when x equals 0. We actually even did something like that in one of our lessons. Remember, we had it. We said y int x equals 0, and then on the other side we had x int y equals 0. Well, we don't care about the x-intercept. We care about the y-intercept. So which of these points has a x value of 0? This guy. X equals 0, so the y-intercept is the negative 4. That was terrible. Better. So we have the equation of this line. We found the slope. We found the intercept by looking at our points. I would like you to try letter C. Pause the video, find the slope, find the intercept, plug them into the equation for slope-intercept form, and see what you got. When you're ready to continue, or at least check some work, hit play, and we'll go through it together. Okay, you should be done by now, so let's see what we got. Well, we need to find slope and find intercept. So let's find slope. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, x1, y1, x2, y2. So we're going to take 3 minus 2 over 3 minus 0. 3 minus 2 is 1. 3 minus 0 is 3. So that is our slope. So we have y equals 1/3 x. Now, to find our y-intercept, we're looking for the point that has an x value of 0. Right there he is. This guy has an x value of 0. So in the x value of 0, the y value is the y-intercept, plus 2. And that would be done. All right. Now, we can do something very similar here. Now we have this function notation, which I know gets really ugly and it's kind of confusing for a while until you get the hang of it. But this function notation says we want to write the equation of the linear function with the values f of 0 equals 5 and f of 4 equals 17. Now, remember that in this function notation, this normally says f of x. This guy in here is the x value, which would make this the y value. So we actually have just points here. This says the point 0, 5 and the point 4, 17. So we can still find slope from that. We can still find y-intercept from that. So let's do it here. So slope is m equals, what was it, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Well, it really doesn't matter. I'll call this point 1, 1, 2, 2. So we're going to take 17 minus 5 over 4 minus 0, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That gives us a 12 over 4, which simplifies to 3. Okay, so we found the slope is 3. The y-intercept will be when the x value is 0. Well, do we have an x value of 0? We do, right there. The x value is 0, so the y-intercept is 5. That's all the information we need to write this equation in slope-intercept form. We put down the slope, so y equals slope x, and then intercept is a positive 5. And there we go. Letter B. Same thing. We've got our x value, y value, x value, y value. And because I know I'm going to have to find slope, I'm just going to go ahead and label this as x1, y1, x2, y2. So now let's do it. We've got to find slope. We've got to find intercept. So the slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 gives us 5 minus 6 over 0 minus negative 3. 5 minus 6 is a negative 1. 0 minus a negative, which is actually a plus 3. So we got negative 1/3 is the slope. Okay? In one of our points, do we have an x value of 0? We do. This guy right here has an x value of 0, so the y-intercept is 5. So we've got our slope, we've got our intercept. Now we just write it down. Y equals slope intercept. And that would be done. Okay? We're going to see one wordy problem similar to this. Gosh. I guess I should, instead of using y, it should be f of x. Didn't really think about it at the time, but since we're talking about function notation, we should stick with function notation. So f of x equals that, and f of x equals that. I mean, that really just shows you how similar these are to the y equals. You really just change y equals into f of x, and it's the same thing. Okay? So no major mistakes, is just using the f of x instead of the y variable. Okay? Letter C here says a dance academy charges $20 to use the facility and $25 per hour of instruction. Write an equation that gives the total cost to learn to dance at the academy as a function of hours of instruction. So that's the thing we have to do. Number 1, write this equation. Thing number 2 is find the total cost of 2 hours of dance instruction. Alright, so total cost is going to be, let's see, what do we have to pay for? We have to pay $20 just to use the facility, so we only pay that one time, so that's going to be just a plus 20. And we need $25 per hour of instruction, so every hour we're there, they're going to charge us 25 bucks. So the $25 times time, the cost equals $25 times the time plus $20 for this facility. Okay, so this is kind of like our verbal model. So now we got C equals 25t plus 20. This is the answer to thing 1, which was write the equation of this information. We wrote the equation. Cost equals 25t plus 20. So $25 per hour plus $20 to use the facility is the total cost. The second part says find the total cost if you with 2 hours of dance instruction. So 2 is our time. Okay, so let me just circle this. So that's answer number 1. And let's see. We're going to take 25 times 2 is 50. And the 50 plus the 20 gives us 70. So for $70, you can get your 2 hours of dance instruction. I have one problem for you to try from the not from the textbook, from the note sheet, letter D here. Go ahead, copy the problem down, do it, pause the video when you're ready to continue, hit play, and we'll go through it together. Okay, you should be done by now, so let's see what we got. We got m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, x value, y value, x value, y value. This is 0.1, this is 0.2. Okay, so let's see here. Y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That math gives us 4 minus a negative is actually a plus. So 4 plus 2 is 6. 8 minus 0 is 8. And that simplifies to 3/4. So we have our slope. Now for our intercept, so far we've only been looking at these points. So do one of these points have an x value of 0? The answer is yeah, that guy. So that x value is 0, which means this y value is the y-intercept. So now we just write it out. Y equals slope x, and the y-intercept is a -2, so we put a -2 for our intercept. And that's the equation of that line. Okay, the next couple questions come from the textbook. They come from page 287, numbers 30 through 34. This is just 5 more practice problems of the same thing we've just been doing. When you finish this, we're done for the day. So get these 5 done. Pause the video, do them on your own. You're writing the equation of the line in slope-intercept form. Do that. When you're ready, hit play, and we'll go through them together. Okay, so let's see here. Number 30. See, we've done a bunch of these by now, so I'm going to skip a little bit of... I'm going to start skipping steps, but I'll show the first one here. So m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 gives us x1, y1, x2, y2. So we get 4 minus 2 over 2 minus 0 gives us a 2 over 2, so we get a slope of 1. And y equals 1x, and now the intercept happens when the x value is 0, so it's a plus 2. That's our intercept. So that's number 30. Number 31. x1, y1, x2, y2. I'm going to skip this step. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 gives us a slope of 1 minus 7 is -6. 3 minus 0 is 3. Simplifies to -2. So we got slope. Intercept happens when the x value is 0, so the intercept is 7. So then the equation is y equals slope intercept. x1, y1, x2, y2. So the formula for slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Negative 3 minus a negative 2 minus a negative is actually plus a positive, so that gives us positive 1 over 4. We've got slope. We've got intercept. So y equals 1/4 x minus 2. That's the intercept because the x value is 0, so the y value is the intercept. Make sure you folks have all that because I'm going to erase it all to put the next 2 up. In 3, 2, 1, gone. Okay. Number 33. Let's see. We've got x1, y1, x2, y2. Well, I'm here. x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay. 33. This equation for slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That is plus a positive, which gives us a negative 4 over 5. That is the slope. And the intercept happens when x value is 0, so it's negative 1. So then you write the equation y equals slope. Intercept was a negative 1. And we're done. And 34. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. This gives us a negative 10. This gives us a positive 2, which simplifies to a negative 5. So we have our slope. We have our intercept, because the x value is 0, so that's the intercept. So now we just take y equals slope x minus 4, because the intercept is a negative 4. And we're done. So, the moral of the story of this entire lesson is, to write an equation in slope-intercept form, you need 2 things. You must have slope. You must have intercept. If you don't have one of those things, you don't have an equation in slope-intercept form. The name tells you what you need. So, let's see how well you're listening. Please answer this question in the summary box of your note sheet. How do you write an equation of a line in slope-intercept form? Pause the video, put down an answer. We'll go through it here in just a minute. And like magic, I have an answer. I paused the video and I copied this down. This is probably what I would say. To find the slope, or find slope using m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We did that in every single problem. Then, to find the y-intercept, look for the point with an x-coordinate of 0. When you found the x-coordinate is 0, the y-coordinate is the y-intercept. And finally, write it as y equals mx plus b. That's what we did in pretty much every single problem. Alright? And then we have our homework. Homework comes from page 286, numbers 3 through 12, and then 24 through 25. Hope you've enjoyed. This has been lesson 5.1. Thank you for watching.